guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are subscribed to my channel, welcome back. And if you're new, hey girl, hey, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you'll get notified next time I post a video. So today's video is a little bit about me and my journey to becoming a nursing student, and also a little, I want to say, some tips to help you get into nursing school if you're applying or thinking about starting a nursing program. So a little bit about my journey to nursing. I originally started off at FSU. For those of you that are subscribed to my channel, you know I went there for undergrad, and I went there with the intention of doing their BSN program. Whew, that's a whole, I'm finna give y'all the tea. So I went to FSU thinking, okay, I'm gonna do their traditional nursing program, boom, bada bam, 4 years in and out. Wrong. So when I was doing my tour of FSU, they were like, oh, nursing, you have to apply into their program, this, that, and the third. I'm like, okay. Like, I'm thinking if I applied for like nursing as my major when I applied to the school, like, that's me applying to the program. So I'm like, okay, when I get in, like, when I got into FSU, I'm like, okay, I'm in nursing school, you know. I didn't realize that nursing school, like, once you go, you could go to FSU, but you're pre-nursing, like, you just take your prereqs for nursing school, like, you're not in nursing school. So when I get there, I'm like, oh, okay, didn't know that. You actually have to apply, like, you could get into FSU, but you also have to apply into nursing school, like, after you finish taking your prereqs. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'll just take my prereqs, get the grades that I need to get, and they're going to accept me into their program. Like, duh. Me being dumb and naive. So let me tell y'all my plan so y'all can understand how distraught I was when it didn't work out. So I'm from Atlanta, and I went all the way to FSU as an out-of-state student to, you know, do nursing school because I really wanted to go to FSU. Like, FSU was my dream school. So my whole plan was to do FSU's FYA program. So their FYA program stands for first year abroad. So if you're a freshman, if you spend your freshman, like the whole year, the fall, spring, summer, abroad, once you come back, you'll get in-state tuition. So I'm like, bet, like, I get to study abroad and I get in-state tuition when I come back. Like, sign me up, you know? Like, duh, who don't want to do that? So I did it with the intention, like, oh, I'm going to come back, I'm going to have in-state tuition, and then it's like, you know, that's my version of, oh, I have a scholarship to go to nursing school. Like, you know, it's cheaper than if I would have stayed home to school, because FSU's in-state tuition was cheaper than Georgia State's in-state tuition. So I'm like, Mom, you saving money. Like, you know, I'm trying to convince her, like, let me go. Like, you know. So when I came back from studying abroad, I didn't get to take all of, like, the scheduled classes that you were supposed to take, because I took all of, like, my liberal studies classes when I was abroad. So I was trying to, like, catch up on my nursing prereqs. So when I tell you I took, like, 8 prereqs in one semester. Also, tip number 1, don't try and overwork yourself. You know yourself and what you can handle, you know. Space them out. Don't try and take everything in one semester, because I feel like they break up certain prereqs for a reason. I know the reason now, you know. Like, I just would give yourself a break, like a mental break, because it's a lot to handle. Anatomy 1, what else I took? Anatomy 1, chem, psych, sociology. I took hella stuff in one semester. But that's besides the point. So I basically took 8 prereqs in one semester, along with moving back to Tallahassee. Well, moving to Tallahassee, because I was never there. I didn't have any friends. So it was just, like, a lot for me to get adjusted to, and having to take all those prereqs in one semester. Like, I was overwhelmed. But I did well. I got A's and B's. A's and B's, except for in Anatomy 1, lab and lecture. So at FSU, those count as 2 separate classes. So at FSU, for their nursing program, if you get more than 1 C, you can't apply. So I'm like, okay, but anatomy, lab, and lecture shouldn't count as 2 classes. Like, I'm trying to, you know, argue or convince the, what's some people call, like your advisor, like for your program, that shouldn't count as 2 classes. Like, that's still anatomy. Like, come on, just let me in. So I basically still applied, and they were like, no, you're ineligible because you got more than 1C. I'm like, okay, what if I retake it? They're like, no, even if you retake it, you still got more than 1C, so you can't apply. And I'm like, okay. I still applied anyway. So I'm like, I applied to their program, and I didn't get in. So I'm like, okay, what am I about to do now? Like, I went all the way to London to get the in-state tuition so that when I come back, my nursing school is cheaper. You know, I'll have the in-state tuition, just and a third. And it's just like, damn, what do I do now? You know? So basically, the nursing advisor was like, you can either do the accelerated program or you can apply again next year as a junior. So I'm like, I don't want to do that because now I would have to take a year of pointless classes just so I can, with a chance of getting into nursing school. I'm like, nah, that sounds dumb. So, and then she was like, or you can do the accelerated route, which is get a bachelor's in something else other than nursing, and then come back and then just do a BSN, like fast track BSN. And so I'm like, okay. So I'm keeping both options in the back of my head. So I'm still, keeping all my options open. So I asked her what, like, if I had to change my major, what can I change it to where I won't be behind and I still can take the nursing prep that I needed. And she really just gave me one major and was like, you have to switch it to family and child sciences. And I'm like, what even is that? To this day, I have a degree in family and child sciences, and I still can't tell you what it is. I still can't tell you what it is. But anyway, that's besides the point. So I switched my major to family and child sciences. So it let me take all my prereqs for nursing school. And I'm still like trying to apply into the program for my junior year. I applied to again my junior year. And I'm just like, okay. So I applied after I didn't get in the first time. I'm like, okay, I know I have those 2C's on my record or transcript, whatever you call it. So I'm like, I know if FSU don't want me, it's gonna be a lot of other schools that's like, dang, she got a C. Like, like they like, oh, you have to get A's and B's. So I'm like, I can't get rid of those C's. Like I stopped beating myself up. Like, I did my best. I got a C. It's not coming off of my transcript, so I just have to work with what I got, So I'm like, okay, FSU for their nursing process or whatever, you have to do an interview. And I'm like, okay, I know like I'm gonna be going against people that have all A's and B's, so I need to, do something that sets me apart from them. So I started volunteering. This is another tip. If you have low grades for your prereqs, I recommend you getting some experience. That way you have something else to talk about. Like if you have to do an interview or write an essay or just want to look like a better candidate, I highly recommend like having some healthcare experience. So this is what I did. So I went back to the drawing board. I'm like, okay, I have those 2C's. They not going nowhere. So like, how else can I, make myself stand out? So I started volunteering at a hospital in Tallahassee called TMH. And at first I volunteered in the emergency room, which I love. That's how I found out that I want to be a ER nurse. And then I also volunteered on a CPCU unit, which is how I got my job as a patient care tech. So I'm like, okay, if I am volunteering in a hospital and I'm getting like hands-on experience, I'm getting, asking nurse questions, I'm seeing like people being triaged, I'm seeing traumas, like I'm seeing it all. How are you gonna tell me that you're not gonna let me into your nursing program? Like, it's some people that have A's and B's, but they don't have no experience, And also, And it's just like, you really gonna tell me that you're not gonna let me in your nursing program? Like, be for real. I want you to be for real with yourself. You're not gonna let me in your nursing program when I have decent grades and I have healthcare experience under my belt. Like, I feel like, okay, that sounds like I'm feeling myself, but I promise y'all, like, experience trumps education sometimes. Like, when you can speak about stuff that you've done and stuff that you've experienced versus just being textbook smart, your chances of getting in are even higher. Like, come on now. It just makes sense. Like, I have 2 C's, but yes, I was an ER volunteer. I was a tech for over a year. I worked hand in hand with nurses. I'm able to build rapport with patients. Like, I know a little bit about a little something, you know? And I feel like when you can speak to that in either essay or interview, it really sets you apart, which is why I think I got into the schools that I got into, because I didn't have the best grades. I didn't. But I also had experience. I was able to speak about the stuff that I've experienced. And you also have to know the school that you're applying for and know the type of applicants that they want, you know? But yeah, that is my story on how I got into nursing school and my nursing school, well, my journey to nursing school. So yeah, if you want to learn more about my journey to becoming a nurse, stay tuned, as I'll be doing more like a day in your life of a nursing student, taking out a clinical and work with me. So yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.